We'll start with Stephanie Weldy, who is managing broker at Berkshire Hathaway.
Can you start down there?
No. Stephanie's a mother to adult children. She's involved in the church. She manages a brokerage. She's a busy lady. Next is Brax Vandervoort. He brokers real estate at Remax 100. He is heavily involved in his church and his worship team. He's, I want to say newly married, but you're not newly married anymore. He has been known to rehab houses. He has a busy life. Next is Jim McInnes. I always wanted to be Jimmy McInnes. This is what he said to me. I loved it. I'm a happy husband, father of 3 awesome kiddos, a realtor, and a youth pastor. Add to that, he helped open a new brokerage last week. So he will be McInnes Realty. Perfect. Next is Denise Graves. Denise adds a nice dimension for me. She is the age of a typical agent. She she handles some parts of life that are different. She is married to a retiree.
Yes.
And she
34 years.
manages that struggle or that fun, whatever it is. She dabbles in antiques or annoyance. And last we have Don Reber, who is a lender. He's been in the business for 30,000 years. He has 2 grown children and a very tolerant wife. Yes. So the questions that we were going to look at today are, how do you schedule personal time, family time, and work appointments? What tips do you have for going off the grid in relationship to vacations? How do you handle your need for personal growth in the midst of your hectic schedule? And last, let's talk about the stress we put ourselves under with the idea that we need to be available on call. How do you handle the no? So I'm going to let you guys go at it. If somebody wants to hear from someone specifically, go for it. So start with the first question.
Any of you on that going off the grid thing, does any of you have a rule about when you go on vacation, what you do, what you won't do? Because I think of that. So.
The best thing to go off the grid is a good assistant. That would be my answer to it. I didn't go off the grid at all until I had an assistant.
And then do you go off entirely? Do you completely?
I have. I don't do it successfully all the time, but I have gone off the grid. But I really have to be out of the country where you can't reach me. That's the best way. So go away out of the country.
There's no option.
Yes.
Does anybody use other agents and then do they pay them, or how do they do that?
Yes, I do. And it was just 5 years ago, we were to be leaving on vacation, and I wasn't ready because I was taking care of business, and my husband was loading the car, and he said, you have 5 minutes, and if you're not in the car, I'm leaving. And he was mad. He rarely gets mad. So I knew he meant business. He said, do you know the root of the word vacation is vacate? And I said, yes. And he said, that means you leave it behind. And he said, and I mean it. So from there on, not that year, but the next year, I got somebody to take my business. But we go to the UP of Michigan where there's not a lot of population. So because there's not a lot of population, there's no cell coverage. And that's the best thing, because I can really tell them I'm not really reachable. And we do go where it's just sometimes us and God, and that's it. And it's a great way to unplug. And he told me, I mean, we came to agreement. I shouldn't say he told. It sounds like he's some kind of ogre. But we agreed to leave the cell phones in our suitcase. I do check in because my mom is older, so I need to check in and make sure she's okay. But otherwise than that, I really am off the grid. And that's my commitment to my husband that I made 5 years ago.
We use a team concept, so it's good. We try to coordinate our schedules that we're both, at least one of us are available at any given time. But for me to go off the grid completely, sometimes I don't have that great of a time when I feel like there's things on the grid that are happening. So that's just the way that my mind thinks. So when I go off the grid, I let everybody know. I try to communicate that I'm going off the grid, but I stay on the grid, kind of behind the scenes, because I have a better time when I know, hey, everything's taken care of, so I'm still calling, I'm still, and then there's times that when you're off the grid and you are talking to a client, they know you're off the grid, and it goes above and beyond to the client. They know that you're off the grid. So I try to set the parameters on what we're doing and communicate. And most people are very accommodating, and they appreciate when someone talks about their family and what is important to them. And hey, I'm going to be with my kids. They have a baseball game or something, and then but if they get a text while I'm at the game, they're like, I thought you were at the baseball game. I was, but I just had to text you back because it just is eating at me, and then because I don't know about you, but like it's very hard for me to completely go off the grid, because then that day back on the grid, it's like you get all this stuff. I'd rather not have that day. I'd rather kind of just go back on, and I usually transition and I let people know that I'm back later than when I'm actually back. So like I come back and I'm back for a day, and they think that I'm still off, and I'm catching up. So, and that's the way that I do it. So I think the way that you communicate to your clients and other agents as well is probably you set the parameters and control that a little bit better.
And I think your example is perfect. It's all about communication. I've tried to be off the grid both with an assistant and without. And it's obviously a lot easier when you've got somebody who can take care of the business while you're gone. But we deal in a pretty emotional business, and they want to deal with the person that they've communicated with, or that took their application or started the listing, or whatever it may be. But I think most people are respectful of family time, and if you just communicate, I'm going to be off the grid, and even those times when I didn't have an assistant, I'm going to be out. I will be checking email from this time to this time in the morning, and from this time to this time in the afternoon, and just communicate as well as I can. And sometimes my off the grid is truly off the grid, because I go to Montana every year. And I am truly off the grid at that point, except periods where I want to get someplace where I can return an email or take care of it. But I think it's just, like you said, Jim, I think it's all about communication. I'm going to be unavailable, I've got family time, and we all deserve our family time and our away time.
Yeah, I'd say I don't have an assistant, but I've got a fantastic agent that I trust with my business. And so we kind of have a mutual understanding that whenever one of us goes out on vacation, that we cover each other. And I trust her enough to hand her my files and say, this is what's going on. I communicate with her, we sit down, I go over everything, all the such different situations and what could happen, what couldn't happen, all this fun stuff. And just knowing that she can handle anything that's going on with my clients. Because the truth is that, nothing that you could handle couldn't be handled by another agent. So I truly believe that you can go off the grid. I'm not perfect at it. Kim Merle knows. But I definitely try, and we're there for each other.
Apps. What do you use to help keep yourself under control? Is there some magic software out there, or things that you use that make it a little bit smoother for you? Do you use showing time? Do you not? How, things like that.
I am a big Outlook user and a big ACT contact management database user. Everything I do ends up in either ACT or Outlook. And part of it, and I was talking to Word about this, part of it for me is just systems for everything. A lot of what I think we all do turns out to be repetitive. I got to send the same email to one person, or I got 1,000 people that I got to send the same email to over a period of time. So your appraisals, so I've got a template for that. So I work real big in Outlook and real big in ACT and try to keep everything within a system and keep moving. ACT, ACT.
For scheduling, I use my Google Calendar, my Gmail calendar. And I don't know that for me, I just did this because this is January. I put my big things in first, and my big things are on my calendar for the whole year. be that family time, be that whatever it is. When I first started in real estate, somebody told me that. They said, schedule your family time or you will never have it. And I did. And now that my kids are grown, I can't tell you how happy I am that I did, because I don't have any regrets with regard to that. But my calendar is color-coded, so you can, and my assistant has access to it, so she can see it too. And it's I do block scheduling. I'm not as good at it now that I have this responsibility because it's more fluid. I used to force everybody into my schedule. Sorry.
That's free management.
Yes, pre-management. Now I don't get to do that anymore. But if you look at it, it's color-coded and it tells you what kind of work you're doing. But my family time goes in first. And I did that already this year. It's in there for the whole year. So, and I'm probably not a good person for this because I'm really rigid with scheduling, so I'm probably really extreme from what most people would feel comfortable with, so I apologize. Carla didn't know that when she asked me to do this. I'm really rigid.
I think some people would like to know how to be rigid and still be active, you know, because none of us want to feel like the ER doctor that has to be there, you know, answer that phone at midnight because they'll call somebody else, you know, that sort of thing, so. I don't mind hearing how you do some rigid things.
I call, if you have a bottle, I'm sure you guys have heard of this analogy. You have a container and you put the big balls in first, then you put the next size in, and the next size in, the water fills it. Yeah, that seems simple, but that's really that's what I do. The big things go in first, and I don't move them.
Well, just to talk about that, your schedule is very rigid. Something that helps me personally is if I, like you said, schedule the important things, schedule the things that I know that I'm gonna do. Then also schedule some time for myself.
Oh,
you know, if I decide that I wanna go work out at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then I know that I'm gonna be out of the office at 2 to 3, 2 to 20. But that way, it's on my schedule, I know that that's on my day, and there's a sense of accomplishment. Even blocking out time to make calls to, referral partners or whatever it may be, helps you with your time management, it helps prioritize your day. You're not sitting there going, okay, what am I supposed to do today? What do I have going on? I literally wake up and look at my Outlook calendar every morning to say, okay, this is what's going on today, and I'm ready to go. So it helps to be rigid with your schedule, you should.
I can tell you the night before what I'm gonna do all day long within 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think blocking out time, we use something called Realty Juggler, which is it's an online, so we in the past we used something called Agent Office, which was less web-based. So in Realty Juggler, all our contacts, all our listings, everything is in there, our schedules, our team. So I could go on there right now and I can pull up Tim's schedule, he can pull up my schedule, I can pull up, so Jackie in our office can schedule our appointments, he can do everything, it's all kind of consolidated. That really helps, and I think that the way that how you define what an appointment is also very important, because a lot of times we will say that, well, I'm taking my son out for lunch, I'm picking up from school and I'm taking him out for lunch. Well, that's an appointment.
Yeah.
And when you're talking to a client and you're doing that, see, like, sometimes we diminish the family time as not an appointment, or I'm just doing this. But when I'm talking to a client, I have an appointment between 12 and 1, and I'm available at 1:30, and I treat it just like if I'm meeting, it's a listing appointment, or I'm meeting a buyer, and then there's some respect on the appointment, because how would you treat it if it was a listing appointment? You can't double schedule, too, and how much more important is my 5-year-old son and spending time with him than a listing appointment that you may or may not get, so I look at it as like, that's my most valuable time is spent with him, and then, and that's the way, so how I communicate to my clients is I make sure that they don't know what my appointments are, they just know I have an appointment. And then Realty Juggler, if you don't use it, I mean, we like it just because anybody can log in on any computer, any device, and you can access it, so it's pretty good.
Susan, I think part of that being rigid is saying, I'm willing to walk away from this transaction. This transaction's not more important than my 5-year-old child. And so if these folks need something right now, and I'm in that appointment, and I used to do the same thing, I'm sorry, you have to go someplace else, because that appointment, and I was like you, I didn't tell people what the appointment was, I'm on an appointment, maybe with my daughter, maybe been just personal time, but I think when you do that, you have to realize that, okay, I've made that decision, if they can't live with it, then I've got to accept that. The worst thing you can do is say, okay, well, I'll move this appointment around, and I'll let you abuse me, because that abuse is gonna continue on and on and on throughout the relationship.
Right. And it trickles down to your family too. I mean, so when you start getting into it, we've been really focused in on, like our contacts, we put in categories. And a lot of times as agents, we put like, your VIP, your top 50 people that like you just love, that you're always with. Well, in my top 50 people is my wife. Is in my, but like sometimes as agents, we don't, so like, we'll send a birthday card, we'll do all this stuff for that particular agent that you wanna work with, or that particular client you wanna work with, and then, sometimes they get kind of pushed aside, but like, on my schedule, so Jackie knows that, hey, it's, I treat them as more important than everything, so I put them in my client so that I psychologically know that, look, they're very important to me, even more important than a referral partner that I may have. I mean, so like, it's in our mind and it's in our team, so like the way that we treat family has to kind of be overridden by, not overridden by anything to do with the business side of it, so.
Or you end up with another wife at some time.
Right, yeah. Or she ends up with another husband. But it's probably the way to go. I probably would. I'll be alone, probably. Yeah.
Boy, I got that listing.
Yeah, that listing doesn't mean much at that point. Yeah.
Should cover my child support.
Yeah.
Let's move on to how you handle your need for personal growth. Whoa, sorry.
I have a really hard time shutting off my phone at night or turning it off. How do you guys handle that? And maybe, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock?
Mine has a button on the side,
I know,
but it's a droid.
Can I add a comment on that? Because I had the same thing, and I had probably a month or two ago where a prospective buyer was a realtor. So the realtor was texting me at 1 o'clock on a Saturday morning and wanted the answer right now. And because I keep my phone by my bed, the text, and I checked it and I responded, but I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. I was so angry that, somebody would do that. But I learned that you can set it up for favorites people on your phone, that any call or text from them will trigger, but during a certain time zone, anybody who's not on that list will not. So I was really actually glad it happened because it taught me how to use that. And I put my family, because I have an older mother as well, and I want to be able to, invite teenagers, because heaven knows where they are. I put them all in my favorites, but anybody else after 9 o'clock, I won't even be notified until 7 o'clock the next morning. It helped me to feel like I was still there and not.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I communicate to my people that my phone is, most generally goes on at 8:30 in the morning, and it's gonna go off at 8:30 at night, because I tell them there's really not a lot, unless we're in negotiations. You can say, I'm sorry, my phone's going off, I know we're in negotiations, but too bad. But those are exceptions, but that way, I always tell them too, that they know there's nothing we can really solve after 8:30 anyway. And my best hours are in the morning, actually, so please don't ask me to perform juggling acts at night, because I usually go to bed about 9:15. I'm so boring.
No, that's wonderful.
Well, it's just me having kids.
Okay, let's go back to that question. Personal growth in the midst of a hectic schedule. What do you do for yourself?
Schedule mornings.
Schedule
That's
morning.
for me the best time. That's the best time for me to read, best time for me to work out, best time, whatever it is I'm trying to do. I love getting up in the morning early and spending 45 minutes on my business, reading, learning it.
I do the same. I get up really early, usually around 5:15, and sometimes at 4 if I can't sleep anymore, but I go to bed early. So, and it's usually time that I have, I also spend a little time with God in the morning. I know not everybody would agree to that, but That's how I start my day, and I seem to be a little more well-grounded when I start, and everything's very calm for me. Then when my husband gets up, it's a whole nother story, because you know, he's always Mr. Tigger in the morning, Rudolph Tigger's actually in the morning. So, but he wants to chat my little ears off. But anyway, so I most generally do not take anything before 10 o'clock, because that's my time. And on Mondays, I call my blast off, where I have a time where I listen to, I have a couple of different things. They're kind of, they're little video clips, but they're encouragement things that I listen to on Mondays, and that's how I get my week started. So I feel like I got a shot in the arm, I'm ready to go. And then noon, I'm all shot.
Do you have, is it a website?
Yeah, one of them is, Darren, oh, I forgot his last name. He's really good. He's
Darren
a,
Hardy?
yes, I listen to
The author
him.
in the.
Yes, he's a
magazine.
motivational kind of guy. And then I have John Maxwell. Yeah, he's a cool guy. But anyway,
I do this, I start early when everybody else is sleeping. So like I wake up early, I run every morning. It helps me get set. I always are listening to just motivational things. I listen a lot to like messages and preaching and things like that. I mean, I'm big into that. I'm a youth pastor too, so like I'm always getting, so like for Friday I have youth groups, so like I'm like, okay, I'm preparing every morning to see like what we're gonna talk about on Friday, you know, so like I'm doing that as well. But I think that starting, for me, starting with me and getting me better and getting me ready, there's a big difference when I don't work out. And this is physically, but it's also like emotionally and everything else. If you don't do something before you, like, and I go out to the day, I feel that, you know, in all my interactions, my energy level is down and everything. So I think that it's very important for me, and my wife understands that too, because she's like, I don't like you when you don't have your morning time. So I try to wake up around 5:30 and be done and ready to go when the kids start waking up, because I got to help them get ready. So that's what I do. And I also do coaching too. So like I listen to different coaching. Actually, I'm in this coaching program that helps me because it pushes me, and I'm held accountable for what I'm doing, and they're all real estate agents across the nation, and I talk to them once a week, and this is something new for me. Like I think I have it in my mind, like I could do it. Tim and I will just push each other, but then we both kind of like, hey, let's take this time out. I'm like I need somebody other than Tim to help me with this, you know. So like I got somebody in my ear every week. I'm talking to it, and myself and my brother actually is part of it as well on the lending side. So we're both in this program that they're really pushing us to do the things that we should be doing.
Thank you for that occasional picture you take while you're out running.
Yeah.
Like
We're all
that.
sitting and having our coffee.
See, I'm your morning inspiration. Give me my morning run.
What I
Yeah.
listen to is really not appropriate for this. I gotta have the loud rap or rock and roll music
Yeah.
going in the morning.
No, I got my Rocky music happening too when I'm trying to put. So yeah.
I feel like talking. Wow.
Brax, how do you handle that?
Well, I get up generally at the same time every single morning. I am so not a morning person, so I have to make myself disciplined to get up every morning. So I get up at 7:30, which is early for me.
He doesn't have kids yet either.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I get up at 7:30 every morning. I make a cup of coffee, and I'm kind of worthless until about like 8:30. So I just kind of like sit and wake up and drink my coffee because I don't know.
irritating.
Yes.
I thought it was meditating.
During that time, I'll usually I'll read the Bible and I'll pray and just kind of contemplate, you know, my day and my week. But yeah, so that's kind of what that looks like.
You have a very non-diverse group up here, just so you know, 'cause I'm the same way. I get up in the morning, I have my time with God. You wouldn't like me if I didn't. So I'm like that with that. I was going to tell you I ran, and then I thought, well, I wouldn't believe that. So I don't run, okay? But, and I'm always reading. I love to learn, so I read a lot. all over the place. I listen to messages. Robert Morris from Gateway Church in Houston, or Dallas, he's in Dallas. He's great to listen to. And I do that, I'm in that mode until 8 o'clock. I go to Plant Fitness once in a while. I'm trying to know more. I hate sitting up here with him. Just kidding. It motivates me, there you go. But again, 5 to 8 every day is going to be devotions. Obviously I eat, have coffee and that sort of thing. And then get ready for my day. But I'm always learning something just because I like to learn. And it varies. It depends on who has triggered my attention that week or that month or whatever. So I read a lot. And just so you know, in case you are somebody who does Bible stuff, there's an app. You can have your Bible read to you. Just saying.
Yes, it's
Show it
great.
to you.
It is great.
It's really cool. Yeah.
You can actually get Morgan Freeman to read you your Bible.
There you go.
I did not know that.
And I believe Oprah also.
There you go.
Everybody gets.
You had a question.
I have a question. If just one of you can answer. Do none of you get up and turn the news on? I
Never.
can't. I cannot function unless I know the world is okay. That
I
nothing went on.
I quit watching the news probably 10 years ago. I listen to NPR. I can't change what they're showing, and it clutters me.
I read the newspaper. I watch the news like at night. My nighttime is I have certain thing, and my wife hates this, but like I like to watch the news, and like she's like, why do you even want to? I just want to know. So like I watch, and then in the morning I read the newspaper too. I always read the newspaper, so I always want to know because I think that it's good for our business. I mean, to me, to be able to have intelligent
Conversation with
conversations
people, and they say, oh my gosh,
like
you know, the flooding in
happened,
California
right.
and the housing or whatever, you're like, well, I don't watch the news. I feel like I'm not paying attention.
Yeah.
I listen to it in my car. I don't watch it.
I'm gonna start running.
I'll be taking pictures like you guys and put on Facebook.
Yeah, so who's going to the gym?
I wasn't trying to make anybody feel guilty. I was just saying what I do.
Well, I don't feel guilty.
I got all these people. Dude, you gonna start running now? I already do.
I'm gonna get a GoPro and drive behind you.
Like my 10-year-old granddaughter, when it was raining 2 weeks ago, and we ran from the car to the store, she stopped in the rain, in the parking lot, and said, Grandma, do you know how to run? So I'm like, not listening.
You guys are hockey players, though, right? So like, you guys like to skate and stuff. That's
Skating is not running.
Okay, let's talk about boundaries now. How do you handle the no?
I'm gonna tell you something a friend of mine just said a couple weeks ago, and I haven't practiced it yet, but it's genius. She said, if somebody asks her to do something that's more than she can do, she says, I can't do this, but I can do this. And she then accommodates them so she doesn't feel like she's blowing them off, but limits it to what she's able to do. I think that's genius. I'm real good with boundaries, I just say no. So I'm gonna try to say, I can do this.
That's a good way to do it.
And Carla, you just gave me some great advice recently on a little project that we've got going on that accepting donations for things, and we're getting all types of donations. We don't want to necessarily say no to those donations because they're the best of intentions.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't know how to say no to this because I want people to donate items.
Sure.
It's great. And Carla gave me the best advice, which was you don't say no, you just suggest that they do something else with it. You know, and that was, and I literally said, I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to say no.
That's a
So,
different thing, that's good.
and now, and then it was so easy to say, thank you so much, why don't you take that donation to St. Margaret's House or, you know, wherever it was. So, right along the same lines of that, it's making a suggestion for something else, not necessarily to say no, but.
It's easier to live with myself if I say no than it is 2 months from now not getting a project done that I said yes to, or being involved in something that I said yes to. It took me a long time because I was for many years, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, I'll do it, yeah, I'll do it. And then you find out that yeah, if you don't have time, it ends up hurting you more. So every time I'm asked, I really take a look at it and say, do I have the time? Can I do this right? And if not, can't do everything.
I have a question on the nose that maybe is gonna be more relevant to the ladies, you guys might have too. But I get asked to a lot of home sales, this kind of, not, like, I sell this product, I'm having this party, I'm having candles, and it's not that I can't, I don't want to. I don't want to go to a different Sephora or whatever kind of thing every night. How do you say no when it's not that you can't, it's just you don't want to?
I think you've done that to me before, Lori.
I think you have.
I thought you were pretty good at it.
But I felt bad. Hopefully I felt bad.
Yeah, how do you do it without
She's
feeling
smiling.
bad? How do you say no without feeling bad? I'll tell you how I do it. Next to my phone at home is a little note that my coach sent to me that says, let me get back to you on that. I don't say no. And I often don't get back to you either. Because if you really
That's what that
Yeah, now I know, now I know. I was wondering why you didn't
But if they
respond.
really want you to do something, they're going to call you back. And they're going to pursue what they wanted.
And she's gonna say the same thing when you do that. I'll tell you.
I've got that response before, bro.
have?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the other.
I think ladies, if I can say this, I don't mean to be sexist, but I think we have more problems with guilt and saying no. And because we want to be gracious and we want to feel like we want to be helpful. But, I came to a point about 2 years ago where I felt like I was on too many boards and I wasn't really doing what I really loved. I don't like to just sit. I'm not a sitter. I'm more of a doer. And then I had to tell myself, what do I really like doing and what do I really enjoy? Am I really helping figure out somebody's budget for this committee or what? That's not me. Anytime people start talking budgets, I get a migraine. So, and we call it the B word in our house. But anyway, so I had to just actually set parameters. And I had to tell myself, it had to be a commitment up here first, because that's where it all starts. And I had to tell myself, am I really gonna love doing this? Do I really wanna do this? And I think that's how I did it. And then as far as business goes, I was in Ninja installation training this past fall. And the whole thing where they start is, I don't need it all, I just need enough. Because in our business, it is so competitive. And we are always trying to be on the first page of the MLS. And we're all working feverishly at establishing ourselves. But I think when you come within yourself and you have a little come to Jesus within yourself and you think, where am I really helping everybody by being so spread out? And I'm not. And then I'm not a very fun person when I get stressed out. So I just had to tell myself, I can't be like everybody else. I can't do it all. I don't want to do it all. And I just want to leave my mark. Because when I die someday, it's not going to say she sold so many millions. Or, I want people to know that I was a good daughter, a good friend, a great wife, and I had a great life. And that's where it is.
Nicely said.
That's good. Well, you said yes to this, so we didn't say no. So I get, yeah. So that's. I think that with clients, I'll go down the client road as far as I think it goes back to how you set up your first when you meet with the client. I try not to say no because I inform them to start, so it's never asked for me to do that. So I've learned that I give them my boundaries and guidelines at the beginning, and I learn theirs because and then basically I'll say, this is what I have going on. This is what so when they send me, hey, I want to look at houses, I want to do that, I always ask, hey, can you go ahead and shoot me your schedule for the next week and the days and times that you're available, and these are the days and times that I'm available, and we go, and I know that we have some people that will call us and say, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I want to be at this house, but to me, when you reinforce the first initial meeting, see, you can kind of lose control of the relationship when you never have that conversation and dialogue, because then you're always working backwards. You're always trying to get them back to this point where you can have this conversation, and it never quite ends up that way. But I found that on the initial, like if you're meeting with a buyer and you're initially meeting with them, I try to meet with every buyer in my office first. That's just the way that we work. That's our policy. There are times when it's a calculated risk that you're like, hey, I'm gonna meet this guy, he sounds really good, and like, it's a calculated risk, you go out and you meet him, but usually you wanna meet him, and there's when you set the boundaries, you learn more about them, and then, so there's not that many no's, because they kinda know, and I've learned from my perspective, kids are a good no. So if you have kids, or if you have grandkids, or you're looking for this like way to like be like, okay, I blame it on the kids. Like I blame it on the kids for I can't do that. I got 3 kids. I'm like, oh, okay, so I would say that your family, not to blame it on them, but like
You're a real good excuse.
yeah, I go on, I high five them, like, yeah, you got me out of that certain kid. But I think it helps because then they know you're real. Like to me, like I don't want any of the clients that I work with. I try to be as open and real with them as possible. And I got 3 kids. I got one that's like our middle one's crazy, and there's times like last night I had an appointment and he wanted me to do the inspection response that night. And it was my mom and dad's anniversary, and we were having my mom and dad over for dinner. And I told him, I called him, and I said, hey, it's my mom and dad's anniversary. My wife wants to be home, me to be home to make the mashed potatoes, And like he's like, oh man, that is so awesome. And like I said, so I can't get to it tonight. I'll try maybe later tonight, just because my mind will be thinking about it. But tomorrow morning for sure, I'll have everything done. I walked away from that conversation. I think with I was open with him about my life, and I think that sometimes as real estate agents, we try to be closed, and I think that if we open ourselves up and say, look, this is my life, and these are my kids, and I think that they're more willing to have a little bit more grace when it comes to saying no.
In other words, if you communicate, they're going to be a little bit more lenient.
Yeah, if you just gotta communicate. I mean, do you really want to work with a person that knows that it's your son's birthday and wants to look at houses and like knows that? Like, I mean, is that the person you want to work with? I mean, like, I don't know if I would want to even work with that person. Like, if they don't care about me, I'm just this person that opens houses for them then. I want them to like care for me and I care for them, and it's mutual. And I think in our business sometimes we have this mindset that we don't have any say in who we work with. I think we
break that up tactfully.
Yeah, when I meet with people first, I say this is a meeting for you to learn a little bit more about us, how we work, and me and there's been times that I've walked away from the meeting and says, I don't think that we're a good fit for you. I think there's other agents that will do the things the way that will conform to your way, but we won't conform and within reason to something that's totally outside of our practice, because we feel you can't successfully have multiple relationships with a lot of those people. Like if we want to do so many transactions, you can't have these like loose cannons that are doing their own thing. You're like no, call Denise. Like she's way.
She's up right now.
Yeah. Just don't call her after 8 o'clock.
So how I say no, it actually started. Before I was in real estate, I worked for an organization where we weren't allowed to say no, and if you did, it was not a good thing. And so I quickly got burnt out working there for a couple of years, and just quickly got burnt out. And so when I got out of that organization, I was bound and determined that my next career, whatever that was, I was not going to be a slave to my work. I was bound and determined, and I was going to, be able to make boundaries for myself, for my family, and it's been something that when I meet with buyers just like you guys, I set my boundaries with them, and I'll let them know when I work, when I don't work. I have a set day off every single week, the same day I take off, and I let them know up front. Guys, I don't work on Sundays. That's my Sabbath. I work Monday through Saturday, and I don't work on Sundays. And honestly, every single client that I've worked with they've had respect for that decision versus, what you would think or what you'd be fearful of would be the latter, of them, not wanting to work with you. And you know what, if they don't want to work with you because you've set boundaries, it's really okay. And just saying, it's okay. I had a client last year. They're fantastic clients, but their only time that they could go out was on a Sunday or Wednesday evenings. And some Wednesday evenings out of the month, I have rehearsal at church, and so I could not make it happen. So I wanted to give them the best care that I could, so I handed them off to another agent. And I didn't get the deal, but that's okay. I was okay with being able to say no, because I had set boundaries, and I also I don't know, if I'm getting phone calls on a Sunday, or when I'm unavailable, and I always have this. We all have this in the back of our mind. Are we going to lose this person, lose this lead, or whatever? But I've really come to the realization that I trust God for my business, everything. So I trust God that if it's truly supposed to happen, it'll happen, and if it doesn't, it's okay. It was not supposed to happen. And so for me, I have a huge peace about the boundaries that I have set, because I trust God with my business, and He's been very faithful.
So you don't do open houses on Sunday?
I don't. If I do, if a seller wants me to, I'll pay another agent to do it.
Well, specifically to your question about parties.
Yeah.
Um,
Candles, fingernails, all this stuff.
Well, when my kids were little, I felt like anything, if I was gonna be away from them, it was gonna be to make money, and that doesn't make me money. And that sound really mercenary, but that's how I thought about it. I wanna be with my kids, and they were more of a priority to me than anything. Money would be next on the list. And so none of my friends even invite me to that kind of stuff.
Because I just have clients, which makes it all
It's
more
clients,
awkward.
'cause it's,
Because
yeah.
we have that friend, I want them to like me, again, if I go and buy their candles.
No, well, I would just explain you're with your family.
You might want to, because I get into that situation too, because we meet so many people. But if you could say I have so many clients that invite me to this stuff that I just decided I don't buy from anybody, and then I'm not hurting anybody else's feelings. And I was kind of in the deliverance of it that.
Or you have kids.
There might be the teenagers, nobody's
Just
gonna
say,
buy one.
we're saving for college right now.
Or hell, just say you can't be there, pull the checkbook out, and write a check for whatever they want to say. And get some off your back.
It's something that I started doing is not giving a reason.
I don't feel like reason.
I think it's a great
just
point, Jen.
decline. I just decline.
No.
I don't.
Guilt.
Oh, you a reason.
And I understand last year, I was very heartbroken, responded, I'm not able, or I won't be able to. Thanks for
Sorry, I
inviting me
can't-
though, and
I'm
she
sorry,
wrote
I
back and
can't
said,
make
hey, thanks for letting me know. I was like, oh, that's it? That's it?
That's
That's
it.
why?
Amy,
Okay.
I'm still here.
But I feel like, we do feel like we have to give a reason. We have to justify why your event isn't important enough to me. And I'm a yes person. I will say yes to everything. Yes,
Really?
what would you like me to do? Yes, sure, of course I can do that, of course, do whatever you want. But now that my priorities have shifted, I have a 1.5-year-old. I want nothing more than to spend all my time with her. But I have to make money.
Yes.
And I appreciate what you said, which is, if this event is not worth my time, and money is time, time is money, or family, then I'm sorry, I just can't make it. I don't owe you more than that, and it's okay. They will get over it.
I'm so glad I'm a guy. We don't get those requests. I don't have that.
You don't want to come to
You
my
want to come
January
to
party
the
later?
Super Bowl party? Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there. Yeah. I don't get those
Duke has a
invites.
question.
I would like to read you a quote from this article that I got the other day, and it's really hot on this topic that we're talking about. And it says, for the second year in a row, NAR's study found that the largest group of recent buyers was the millennial generation, those under 34, okay? And they're drastically changing how we at the title company close loans, process loans. We are at their beck and call. And I think everybody knows that technology is a main driver for how they get their information. Will it change your focus as to how you say no? Will you change maybe your ability to adapt technology to gather that particular client potential base? Because technology is fastly taking over not only the title industry, the lending industry, but as well, the realtor industry. Maybe just a couple of thoughts as to how you're going to adapt to it if you want to, because it's probably only going to get bigger and maybe more challenging. Now, and I don't mean to, my kids are more adept on social media technology than I am, and I probably got to assume that a lot of folks out there probably have the same mentality. But with that big of a population base driving our industry, will you say no, or how do you try not to say no, or how do you adapt to it?
Could you repeat that?
With that having been said,
Hey.
the biggest population is still the baby boomers. They just have a different kind of business and a different approach.
Again, and I guess the question is directed at the millennials and how they interpret what they do, how they do it, and who's going to adapt to it then. And
Well, I know, yeah,
it is different.
they want a response right away.
Their way of technology and communication is a lot different than mine. It's going to be a lot different than those that are older than I am. I mean, we have to adapt. I just don't know, are you going to just continue to segment the bases or the client base that you can? Or will you try to adapt and maybe bend some of those ways to say, no, I'm not going to adapt to this new way of technology, or I'm not going to do these apps, or I'm not going to get online and do this. And maybe it's an open-ended question.
Well, I can speak of it from two different points of view. So I work with Tim, so and we worked it together. So we're a blended age group in that capacity. So there's some things and we've trended more towards my age group in the way that we communicate, the way that we do. Although we still keep the things that he has in place as well. So we're doing it together. I don't think that. I don't think that adapting, saying no is not adapting. Like I think that the way that you communicate and facilitate that no or those boundaries, I think the millennials understand, because I'm working with a lot of those. So I'm over that age group now.
You're a millennial.
I just turned 35, so I'm 30.
You're there.
So but I'm right there in that age group, and I think that I relate to them with kids, with family, with everything. So when I'm meeting with them, even more so than like Tim does with certain. So when I meet with people, we have a totally different connection. Like totally, dude. Like feed your baby right there. I totally understand. Change your diaper.
And I didn't want to say this, but my question was more so poignant to those folks that have been in around it a long time. The concept of, well, that's just not the way we do things. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from folks out there. And certainly you're a 35-year-old, this is your wheelhouse. And the question is more directed at the more seasoned vets that have been at it for 25, 30 years. Do you want to adapt to that? Or,
I think you have to adapt to some of it. You still have to keep your boundaries. I think certainly the technology end of it, we're all texting and Facebooking and all that other stuff, and I've got no problem with that as an old guy. But again, it doesn't change the boundaries of when I'm going to work and when I'm not going to work. When I was originating 100%, and my wife and I decided it was in our family's best interest for her to stay at home, I set a lot of boundaries at that point for both sides, for both my family and for my referral partners. I'm going to work Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. Don't call me on Wednesday night. Don't call me on Friday night. And I stuck to that. And I found that my referral partners We're very respectful of that. Now, with the new generation, if they're not, then again, I agree with what Jim said. If they're not, then it's probably not gonna be a good match. They're probably gonna want somebody that's gonna be that yes person, and, you know,
I'll take those people.
I have to, and I dish them out to Jen. No, but I think, it gets back to what you said earlier, you have to, when you're setting these boundaries, you have to understand that sometimes that's gonna chase a client to somebody else, and that's okay. If they wanna work their business differently, that's fine, it's just not, it's not for me.
Fully
I think you have to
understand,
accept
absolutely.
the fact that you're gonna lose some clients, because of, but you're gonna keep a 30-year marriage,
You
and
keep your saner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. Does anyone have one?
I have one. How would I look with Brax's haircut? You think I could play that off?
Johnny couldn't pull it off. Armando doesn't know how to do that.
Don't have enough here.
Maybe a thickener or something I could get on top of
You're adapting.
You will adapt.
Okay, thank you, all of you. I really appreciate your time and for not saying no when we ask.
that. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Let me thank Amy, Jan, Liz, and Lori for setting up lunch today and organizing the lunch. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I said Liz, didn't I? I said Liz.
One last reminder before everybody leaves, again, we are sponsoring a bus down to Indianapolis on February 1st for the